Hi, Greg, your car angel here, and we're here on the unveiling of the 4th generation Mazda Miata. We're here with Derek Jenkins, the designer of the 4th generation Mazda Miata. Is that right?
One of the key designers.
One of the key designers. Well, we're happy to talk to Derek, and what we're going to be talking about are the finer features of this car. So Derek, they changed the fascia of the Mazda Miata, and I see that right away that it has a more aggressive fascia. And tell us more about why that happened and how, you know, what your input in on that was.
Yeah, you know, that's a great question. If you're familiar with our other new products, Mazda 6, Mazda 3,
yeah,
you know that there's been a face transition to those cars.
Right. It's always been a hallmark of the Mazda brand was to have that unique fascia.
Yeah, any great car company's got to have a strong face, right? So important. It's really one of the #1 things in design is that point. And with those products, we really put a lot of effort into making the car look more sophisticated, more focused, a little more confident, you know, so those were key things. So when it came time to address those topics on the MX5, there was a ton of attention paid to this car. At the same time, we didn't want to make it identical to the other cars in the lineup. We just wanted the character of the car to be similar. Like you'll notice this car doesn't have the chrome trim coming through. It's just a contained mouth, but still has that Mazda look to it. The other big thing with this front end is the hood in front area is super low. So the overall stature of the car, and you'll see this once you see it on the road, is just sucked down on the road, you know, which I think complements the ability of the car, you know, because the car has such amazing handling. And we wanted that connection between how the car looks on the road to what it's actually capable of. It's super important. So we have the low hood, low eyes, the lights are all fully integrated LED projectors, and these are incredibly slim due to the new technology that we have integrated. Very low to the ground, is much lower than the outgoing car, and as well then as a result then the mouth of the car comes even farther down in the car and really gives you that planted look from the front.
Right. I see it's a very crisp design, and it seems like Mazda's moving towards a crisper and less rounded design of the original Mazda. And I see this being a beautiful trend in that way. You know,
and that was a challenge, quite frankly, to keep some of the character of the car of the original. Also, we wanted it to be crisp, but we didn't want to add a bunch of lines to the car. You know, there's other cars on the market that are a lot more complicated with chops and creases. It was really important to stay pure.
Yeah, like the simplicity of the original Mazda is really the hallmark of that Mazda.
Absolutely.
And I like that you've carried that simplicity over to the new generation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And in other ways, how complex is this car? I mean, have you worked out any of the powertrain options on it, or is that still under a cloak of secrecy?
You know, the car is pretty much finished in its final stages, but of course now we're in the phase of ramping up to launching the production and all that. So.
And this particular Mazda Miata is one of only how many that are in the world right now? Just a handful.
Yeah.
So we're honored to have this.
We're lucky.
Yeah, very lucky. Can you just tell me personally what some of the elements that you had a hand in?
You know, I've been involved with this project from the beginning. And the way it works is we have I have my design studio in Irvine, in California here. We have another studio of colleagues in Frankfurt, Germany, and then obviously our talented team in Japan, right? So we're all making proposals, we're bringing the best ideas together, and then collectively kind of measuring how to move it forward, you know. And there's a spectrum of ideas from more heritage to more modern, and we're just kind of narrowing that focus down throughout the project. And I've been really fortunate to be part of that team.
Wow. And where did you get some of your design experience? I'm curious about your personal background?
My personal background is, I grew up here in California. I went to Art Center College of Design.
Beautiful.
And then from there, I went to work for Volkswagen and Audi. And I lived in Germany for 5 years, worked through that, came back to California, continued my work with the VW Group, and then in 2009, I came over to Mazda.
And have you always been a Mazda fanatic?
Well, I grew up, it's interesting because I grew up in Southern California, which in the 80s was highly import-oriented, especially for young people. Everybody drove Honda CRXs, Mazda, exactly, RX-7s, all of these cool cars. I was driving Volkswagens, and so I was always focused on sport compact, and Mazda was always at the top of all of that. So
yeah, they really set the trend for a lot of other manufacturers who've come in. Like, you look at what BMW has done. Really just to sort of follow up on what Mazda started.
Absolutely.
And it's great to see Mazda, keeping the tradition that they've always been known for.
Absolutely.
Which is, just pure sports car enthusiasm. With the two-seater and, not making it like, if you look at some of the BMW products, you can see it gets over-engineered. And that's my complaint in general with German cars, is that they tend to be over-engineered, and you lose that simplicity of design and performance.
No, those are all valid points.
Can you talk a little bit about the interior? Just some of the things that
Should we come around the side?
I'd love to see that.
I think, the interior on this car, the MX5 interior has always been a great driving space, but I think on this generation we really elevated the priorities on the interior. First and foremost, it had to be about the driving experience. This car maintains that centerline symmetry, so you'll notice the air vents, the gauge cluster, everything about this is contained in a perfectly symmetrical view of the driver. So this is very important, and you'll note, you can't really see it from here, but the driver has this amazing view now of these pronounced front fenders.
Yeah, let me try to get the camera to simulate what the driver would actually see. Yeah,
so you can see how you have that nice, and that's pretty unique. The first generation and second generation car had a little bit of that, but this is much more dramatic. It allows you to understand where your front wheel is positioned. So it's actually, I think, a design feature that's enhancing the driving experience, and it's got to look good looking out, right?
Right.
So it's important.
Yeah, it's got to feel good, it's got to look good.
Absolutely. Other features on the interior, you'll notice the dash is very slim and lightweight. We wanted to make sure that the interior didn't get it all bulky or oversized or heavy. Even though it's a small space, it needs to feel airy and open. It's very important.
Right, I see that.
Another big feature is this idea of the exterior flowing into the interior. And that's accomplished by obviously doing this in the same color as the exterior, but it's also the form language itself. These kind of twisting volumes are very kind of clearly tied to how we handle the surface volumes on the exterior. So we like that feature a lot.
Well, that goes with the whole tradition of bringing the outside in, which is the road feel. The road feel coming in, you don't lose that road feel, and it's all about getting that transparency of feeling with the experience of the car, and so just
100%.
bringing that sill in like that really sort of on an aesthetic level, it accomplishes the same thing.
I think so too, and it gives you this feeling of a cohesive overall car. And probably the last, but definitely not the least, was just the attention to detail on this car with respect to things like material finishes. You'll see here we have this signature stitching. How we've handled these details to kind of create and maintain this iconic quality, very simple geometric, very pure shapes, but very high quality with all the graining, the bright work. We wanted the interior to come across with a lot more premium feeling. So the interior's got a more upmarket feel that in no way detracts from the driving experience. It only enhances the ownership experience. This is really important. yeah, so that's a 2016.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. It's great to meet you.
Thank you.
Okay, Derek.